Welcome to the call. This is the ATM Business Complete Walkthrough brought to you by ISB University. We've had student members asking about it, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with the basics and we're going to run right through to the advanced stuff, and we got even more stuff in the membership, of course. To understand why ATMs, you have to understand the business model of ATMs, okay? Understand that every time you go to an ATM, that $3-4 fee goes to the person who put the ATM there. That's the ATM business. All the other money in that transaction is between the person and the bank. Understand all the costs, and you can get it to $1, and I'll show you how to get it less than $1, okay? But let's just say it's $1, the fees are $3. A lot of times the fees can run from $2.50 to $3 to $4. If you're mobile at like a theme park or something like that, they can get outrageous, $8, you know? And whatever the fee is, that's how much the person who put the ATM in there is making. That's their profit, all right? They do have expenses, which we'll go into, but let's say on average, that is a $4 ATM fee and a $1 expense. You make $3 for each transaction at the ATM. The average ATM does 6 transactions a day. We're gonna show you how to get locations that get more than that, double that, okay? Triple that, actually. So at $3 profit, you're making $18 a day. Pretty decent. Let's say you do 3 ATMs. At 3 ATM machines at $18 a day, you're looking at $16.20 per month. And again, this is profit. We've already taken out our expenses. What you also want to keep in mind is that refilling ATM, that's really the only manual labor, the only time-consuming thing that you have to do for the most part when running an ATM business. 2 hours a month, depending on where your ATM is, how close, how many, etc. like that. Before your first 1 or 2, you're talking 2 hours a month just to go refill the cash. So getting started, unlike a lot of businesses, the prerequisites are getting an LLC, getting EIN, and it's because of the business bank account, all right? So a lot of businesses you can start, kind of get going before you get your LLC, EIN, but your money is going to be deposited directly into a bank account, and it needs to be a business bank account. Understand that it's going to have a lot of small deposits. Your bank needs to know that, because if you try to do it on your personal account, you'll get flagged and shut down. If you do it even on a business account, with a lot of larger banks or places that might consider ATM as a money service business, then you're going to have a hard time as well. So we usually recommend getting your LLC, getting your EIN, and go find a smaller bank. Go find a credit union, something like that, because they work better with money services, which technically this is not a money services business, but it gets grouped into that. So sometimes on the bigger banks, it's the call of the teller. It's the call of the person you're talking to. I've seen situations where they tell you no, and then you can go to the next location, they tell you yes. You know, once you get in and they see that it's a legit business, you're gonna be all right. I wanna drive that home because a lot of people try to skip that step. Go to instantsmallbiz.com, go directly there. Even without joining a membership, you can get that complete course for free. And again, I suggest that on any of the businesses that we have, but very specifically for this ATM business as well. Buying an ATM machine, that's going to be, of course, one of the first things that you need to do when getting into the ATM machine business. So getting your first machine, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. EVM and ADA compliant. EVM is how the banks communicate with the ATM machines, and they need to be at a level of security and compliance. ADA is the American Disabilities Act, to where you need Braille and some other things for those with disabilities. Any machine, or most machines made after 2018 will automatically have these. If you find a machine, which we'll talk about finding used machines and things of that nature at a little cheaper price, you need to check and make sure that they're EVM compliant and ADA compliant. And it's sometimes you can pay to upgrade them, okay? Older machines, just depend on the cost. We'll go over that as well. There are penalties. There's like $50,000 fees and if you get caught with not having these compliances, all right? Now, used versus new machines. Again, the used machines might not have it. You need to double check. And if they don't, you need to see what it will cost to upgrade it to EVM and ADA compliant, and price that used cost plus the upgrade versus your new machine, all right? And we're going to get into the differences. There are a lot of big differences, and this is why I said your first machine, because once you do it once, you can do it again with a little bit more ease. You know, you understand the difference in used and new machines. You understand and can tell which ones are EVM and ADA compliant, all right? Buying it cash versus financing. It's up to you, depends on your situation. I usually suggest your first machine being cash, just in case things fall through, just in case there's extra expenses. There are drawbacks on buying cash. It's yours, you own it, which means you're responsible for fixing it and upkeep and installing and moving and things of that nature, all right? We'll go over the costs and the differences between the two, but again, it depends on your situation. If you're in a situation where you're working and you have a consistent income, maybe you can finance it. Just remember that cost is going to cut into your profit. Like we said earlier on the last page, if your profit is $3 out of 4, it may be $2.50. It may be $2 out of 4, at least for the first year or a couple years to pay for that ATM machine. Another key point is programming and installing. Again, when you're financing, they can do it for you. There are ways to purchase them yourself and have servicers do it for you, which I'll get into that. So you can definitely own your own ATM and get it programmed and installed, and you can learn to program and install them yourself as well. 2 key points for those that's jumping ahead. Windows. When buying a machine, you want to look for Windows software. They're more popular, they're easy to upgrade, okay? Also, when you're programming a machine, you can do the programming at home. That way you're not in businesses for 2-3 hours trying to figure things out. Again, this is for your first machine. The machines after that, it doesn't take as long. Upscale or high traffic machines have a little bit different requirement. For one, they hold more money, and that's because they're higher traffic. You don't want to keep coming and refilling your ATM once a week, right? Or twice a week. I recommend once a month, hopefully. But that's when you get to a point where you have a cash reserve that you can keep in your ATM for a whole month without it going out. So when we're looking at upscale or high traffic machines, that's like gentlemen's clubs, that's casinos, things of that nature. For one, you have to meet their requirements on the quality of the machine, the look. You don't want to put no gas station machine in a gentleman's club. You don't want to put a convenience store type of machine in a casino, right? Because they are higher scale. They need to hold more money. They need to react faster. Touch screen, bigger screen size, not the little green and white deals like the first cell phones. You want something big, look like a laptop. You can touch the screen, the money shoots out. Also, surge protection is something you want to look into when you're purchasing these ATMs. These are the type of features you want to look over. Also, toppers and window signs. Toppers is a big ATM light up sign that they put on top of ATMs. Those are separate and additional and optional depending on your location. Same thing with window signs. Window signs are provided by the ATM owners. So that can be part of your pitch. You know, when you're talking an owner or a location into taking your ATM, free ATM window signs. It'll also have a topper to attract people in. A couple other things to consider. And these are going to go into your costs, that per transaction expense that you have that takes out of your $3 profit, right? One is going to be the internet connection, all right? All ATMs need to connect to the internet. Now, there are a couple options. You can use the local companies or the local business that the ATM is in. You can use their Wi-Fi. That'll save you a lot of money, right? There's also, it can be Wi-Fi or wired. So if they have a wired system, it's going to run a lot smoother wired, but it can also connect Wi-Fi, right? You can rent them from your processor, all right? So we'll talk about the processor. The processor and the distributor, etc., is the person not only that you get your ATMs from, you can get your ATMs from, you can also get your internet service from, okay? So you want to keep that in mind. And I say rent because they'll charge you $20 a month or something like that for the internet service. And then keep in mind, you can self-purchase your own router and internet service. You don't have to go through a processor. You don't have to use the local company or the location of the ATM. You can buy a router, stick it in the back of the ATM and purchase your own internet service for the ATM. Refilling the machines. This business is often local for starters because you have to drive and refill the machines. Gas is extremely high right now. And so you're going to keep in mind how often and keep in mind your routes. Hiring runners and vaulters. So refilling the machines, once you get to your second or third or fourth or fifth machine, once you get further out of the area, if you're doing this part-time and doing something else full-time, you might have to hire some people to refill the money in the machines. There's also what they call vaulters, which are separate companies or separate individuals. Not only will they refill the machines, but oftentimes vaulters will front you the money for a cost. Just charge you a certain percentage per transaction or whatever it may be. It makes it more hands-off. If you're taking out your only 2 hours labor, it's very passive compared to a lot of businesses, especially a non-internet business to be so passive, right? Some other things to consider: safety, security, repairs, and insurance. So all this are going to take out of your expenses. They're all not required initially. Okay, we'll get into how much they cost and what the requirements are, but you want to think about safety. All right, you want to think about a safe internet connection. You want to think about going out and handling cash, putting thousands of dollars into a machine. So that's the security. The repairs. People can push over the ATM machines. They're pretty sturdy. They're pretty strong and sturdy, and so it's hard to really mess them up. That's why insurance might not be something you get right off the bat, but they can get messed up. You see a lot of out of order signs on ATM machines, and someone has to come fix it. So that's either expense that you pay for the repair, or you have some type of insurance or repair service, or even the processor we talked about before. They can cover repair costs as well if you have the right agreement with them. But again, that takes into your expenses, all right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's talk about industry terms. ATM vendor or distributor or processor. These are often the same company. And this one company can provide you with your ATM machine, right? It can provide you with your payment processing service, which is a small fee that you have to pay for each transaction. Just like if you're running any type of business. Actually, you need a payment processor and they charge a small fee for each transaction. All right, so you can get your ATM, your payment processor, and like I said, the internet service. Okay, you can get them from one company and you pay them a small fee per transaction plus monthly or something like that. It'll cut into your costs, but right now just remember these terms. These are things that you want to Google, that you want to research. If you hear them, you'll understand what they're talking about. Again, they install the machine, program it with the software, and provide internet service. Okay, you can do a little cheaper when you do some of these on your own, but it's a little easier when you go through a vendor or distributor or ATM processor. This will help you cut some corners, but again, you can do these yourself. Vendors, distributors, and processors, the key here is to understand the industry terms so that you can do some searching, so that you can do some research. You're going to need their help and their assistance to get started, but you don't want to get taken advantage of. You don't want to pay for more than what you need. So you need to understand the terms. You know, EVM or EMV, stands for EuroPay, MasterCard, and Visa. And this is just a transaction standard, and these are the three companies that put this transaction standard together. But again, these are requirements for all ATMs now. And the American Disabilities Act, that's the ADA. And the ADA is the Braille and things of that nature, again, for to help people with disabilities at your ATM. Again, these are requirements. And older ATMs may not have these, so you want to double check that. SLA, Site Location Agreement, is the agreement that you have with the people at the location that's holding the ATM. There needs to be some type of agreement there. How long it's going to be, how much you're going to pay them, or how much they're going to pay you, or whatever it is. How long the terms are. You're going to need a site location agreement. It's basically a contract between you and the location owner. And the reason that it's required, not just because it's strongly suggested in business, right? So they won't double back on you, but it's also required for these processors, distributors, and vendors. If you want to finance an ATM, they're going to want to know that you have a location and an agreement already. Again, agreement between you and the location required by most vendors and financiers. IAD, that's you. You're an independent ATM distributor, or you will be. So again, keep that in mind when you hear that. That's what it's referring to, all right? And if you need to do some research, those are the terms. Let's talk about cost summary. All right, a lot of people have been waiting on this, you get jittery until we come to the cost summary. And the costs vary, but I want to give you a general idea of how the things break down. All right, so there's going to be a startup cost, and there's going to be a monthly expense. Again, as with any business, right? So your startup cost obviously is the machine. $1,600 is where new machines start. I usually suggest getting a new machine if you can afford it, so you don't have to worry about all these extra requirements and upgrades and things of that nature. Okay, repairs. You can avoid a lot of things by getting a newer machine, but older machines, you can stumble on old machines on eBay. I've seen some on Facebook Marketplace, $300-400. And even if you have to do some upgrades to it, another $300-400 worth of upgrades, you can still get a cheaper price than $1,600. Okay, so if you need to cut some corners and make some moves, then you have room to do that. But what I usually suggest, especially for your first one, cut more corners on the machine on your second one than your first one. I know it's backwards. I know getting your second machine, you have a little money stashed and you're confident and you can buy a newer one. But in this situation, you want to get a newer one so that the first two rounds are a little bit smoother. And then as you learn where to get, where to fix, how much it costs, then you can start to cut corners with cheaper machines later on. All right. Install and program the machines. It's $100 to $300. That's if you buy your own machine and need to go find a servicer to come in, install it, and program it for you. All right. You can also learn to do it yourself. Either have them come in and do it once and you'll learn it from there, right? Or you can find different ways to learn that. But if you have the opportunity, and that's why I say it's optional, if you have the opportunity, if you're financing or you have a servicer that will, or a provider that will come out and do it for you, at least have them do it for you the first time, all right? And you may not have to pay anything. It might come with the deal, all right? So that's optional, truthfully. You can do that yourself. To refill the machine, so you get a brand new ATM machine, you just drop $1,600, you got it installed and programmed. It won't work without being able to give people money. And the way this works, again, you have to put your own money in there, they take it, and then all the money plus your fees that you earn, your profit, goes back into your account, your business bank account. Okay, so you have to have that first $500 is the minimum that I would say to put into an ATM. But I've seen people put in $200, and when that $200 is gone, they have to go run up there the very next day or in 2 days and refill it again. A lot of times that these payouts from the ATMs comes within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, so for example, you put $500 in there, someone goes in and takes $20 plus their $4 fee. $24 is going to go into your account within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, so that's basically how that works. You want to keep that in mind to keep your machines filled. Okay, a lot of these out of order signs on these machines is because they're not refilling them fast enough. You're losing money when that happens. So the more you can put it on there, the less often you have to change it. The less gas, the less hours you have to do. If you look at these startup costs, $1,600, $500. It's not a lot, okay? We're talking $2,100 at the very minimum, all right? If you don't have an LLC, you might throw in another $175 in there, okay? And again, the install and program is optional. When you start to look for machines, you're probably gonna like the one that's $2,000. So you're looking at $2,000 to $2,500, that jumps you up another $400 or $500, okay? And the machine costs. So again, just keep that in mind. What I want to do is just give you an idea of the prices because they vary. Your monthly expenses. I love this part, okay? You see these as pennies on the dollar, okay? So you charge $4 or $3 for your ATM fee. That's your profit. You still have expenses. You want to keep those expenses as least as possible, right? So for example, location rent. Some places will let you put an ATM in there for free. Some places are paying to have ATMs in there because it's more beneficial. It's bringing in customers. Maybe they're a cash business and they have to have it there. This is part of your monthly expenses. So it can be from 0 to 35. And it depends on, I'll talk about our 4-step sales pitch later, but I'll give you a heads up. If they're already doing this and making money, we're gonna offer them a little bit more money and just take the business of the current ATM. If they're currently paying, we're gonna offer a free ATM, no expense to them, okay? Maybe if they're paying a lot, they can pay us less, and we can make money just from just providing them a machine in their business, okay? So there's some things we need to find out first to determine how we're going to present our sales or our pitch to the location. I'll get into that later, but what you need to know now is that the monthly expenses for the actual location should be between 0 and 35 cents per transaction, okay? If not getting paid to have your ATM there. Processing fees, 15 to 35 cents, depending on the processing company that you're using, which you're gonna have to have. This is mandatory. Internet service, again, $20 a month, either through a service, through your servicer, your ATM servicer, or through a internet service. And then also it could be 0, depending on what type of internet the current location has and what type of site location agreement and the deal that you have with them. Receipt paper, a lot of the ATM providers will give you some receipt paper, but I've seen ATMs out of order due to no receipt paper. I got $1 to $5 a month. That's high. You're gonna get 2 big rolls maybe free with your machine. You can probably find a deal where you can get a bunch of receipt paper and have it on deck, okay? But I just wanted to remind you of that. And look at these monthly expenses. 0 to 35 cents per transaction, 15 to 35% transaction, 0 to $20 a month, $1 to $5 a month. These are very low overhead expenses, and $2,200 and 50 cents per transaction, if that. And then at most $25 a month. And you see those 2 zeros in bold, those are optional. You see how many things are 0 and optional on here, right? If you cut all that out, especially if you're on a tight budget or you're just starting out or something like that, there's some things you can cut out with hard work. So just keep that in mind. Insurance, again, another optional deal. You want to get it later on, but machines are like tanks. It's hard to break into them joints, and they have to have time and space. It's hard to move. This is not the barbershop movie, right? So you don't have to have it right off the bat, but you do later on, especially when you get multiple machines, especially when you want to deal in, if you're dealing in funny areas where they might get mad and break the buttons or knock the machine over or try to break in, something like that, insurance will definitely help you out, okay? So don't forget that. And again, $0 to $15 a month, depending on the insurance that you find. You know, they might charge you $100 a year. They might charge you $50 a year for multiple machines. So I just want to give you an idea of the cost summary, and so that you can go out and research it yourself, okay? Expenses to refill, I say $5 to $20, basically because of gas. You're gonna have to get there, spend your time exchanging it out. $20 if you maybe want to pay somebody else and they take a transaction fee, a runner or a vaulter or something like that. Keep that in mind. You're going to have to go there and refill it, whether it's you or somebody else. Finding locations, one of the hardest parts. Well, I wouldn't say the hardest part. Securing the location would be the hardest part. Finding them, we see them all the time, right? People think that it's a saturated market and we see ATMs everywhere, so where I'm gonna put my ATM? Realize, we have to change our perspective, and we'll talk about this later, but realize there's new businesses every day. There's new cash businesses every day. So you can look up, I think you can look up through the State DOR, Department of Revenue, and they'll show you all the new businesses that registered every month. Right? They'll give you the names, they'll give you basic information, and you can go to those. They don't have ATMs, obviously, they just started a business, right? Most businesses, whether they're cash businesses or not, will benefit from an ATM. Again, finding locations include offering better deals. So just because you see an ATM there does not rule you out. That actually just tells you that, hey, they are used to this. I don't have to do as much explaining. I just need to find out what their situation is and offer a better offer. So many locations, again, are paying for their ATMs. That's how the non-independent ATM distributors offer ATMs. That's how banks offer ATMs. They see their ATM as a benefit to your company, and so the companies reach out to them and pay to have their ATMs in their location, which is a good thing, so that when we come in and say, hey, you want 10 cents per transaction, you get rid of theirs and put mine in, they're gonna take it almost every time, okay? So just offer better deals, which is not hard to do. I call it kickbacks, but offer a per transaction kickback. Hey, I'll give you 5-10 cents per transaction. And since you're over here paying for an ATM, I can offer you a better deal. So if you have room to offer that, then go ahead and offer it. Some ATMs you'll be making a higher percentage than others, but you can secure the location, and we can always renegotiate later on. So again, change your perspective and be on a little lookout for opportunities. For every ATM you see, there's 10 locations that could have an ATM that you didn't even notice. Everyone who's in the ATM business understands that. But once you change your perspective, then you'll have that eyesight and you'll notice, hey, they don't have one, they don't have one, they don't have one. And the key is just to speak up and be friendly. We're dealing with small to medium-sized companies. We're not dealing with major corporations. So a lot of times you just need to talk and ask, hey, do you have an ATM? Again, I'm stepping ahead. We have a sales process coming up, okay? But be ready, okay? What if somebody said, yeah, right now? Okay, you don't want to have to run home. You don't have to say, call me later. The run home and the call me later, that's for people who's kind of on the fence, who need to talk about it later, who's busy, etc. I'm jumping the gun. But have your SLA agreements in the car. I'll give you a template in the membership. I'll just send it to your email if you're already in there, and you can make the small adjustments, and you make you a couple copies, and you have those templates on deck in the car. As soon as they say, yeah, let me run to the car and get my sheet. You fill out their name, their company name, the details, and then you're off and running. But you want to be ready. When people say yes, you want to get a signature. Machine in 10 days, it's kind of a sales pitch, but you want to be ready. Again, are you going to be able to provide one when they say yes? When they sign this agreement that you got out the car, can you bring them one in 10 days? You don't want to have to go jump through hoops and then try to finance and then try to get on eBay or whatever and find one. You want to have one either ready to be shipped, one with you, you can ship yourself, or whatever the situation may be. You want to have it ready, okay? So be ready. The best way to secure ATM locations is to walk in. And this is just one of several. We'll go over that. But the first one is just to walk in. It's the best one. If you walk in, you hand your business card to an employee or to the owner as you talk to them, something they can go back on and make a decision. Direct marketing, number one, have your business cards and have them ready, okay? Number two, have a sales sheet or a flyer if they need more information or they need something that you want to have bigger on their office desk. When they go to look for an ATM, they already have your flyer sitting there at the bar or in the desk or whatever it may be. So make sure you have a sales sheet or a flyer that has more information than your business card, okay? Give them out together, all right? Custom polo shirt. This is a little trick that I've learned. When you want to look more professional, you don't want to look like one person who bought a first ATM trying to get a spot. You want to look like a business who does this, right? And really the only thing you need to do, we already have the LLC, a EIN, a business account. We have our machines. Now we just have to sell it. We have to have the presentation. So what I found works really well is order a polo shirt with your logo on it, okay? If you come in with a polo shirt with your logo on it and a business card and a sales flyer sheet, you're gonna look a lot more professional. They're gonna be a lot less worried about switching over or letting you do the business, all right? Again, have your agreements in the car, on deck. This is all part of the walk-in strategy. And it's the most effective way, to be honest with you, just door to door. And there's very few businesses that work well nowadays, door to door, but this is one of them. Other direct marketing strategies: cold calling, again, cold email, and postcards. These are all finding out who your potential clients are, and without walking in, you can call them up, find their email and send it to them, or send a postcard to their actual address. Okay, all these work, especially when you find your targeted audience. You find businesses that need a better deal on their ATM, or that need an ATM, period. All right, these are direct marketing strategies, and you would like to have these rolling and on deck, especially when you're looking for your first, especially after your first couple ATMs. You know, this top part here might work for your first ATM or two, but if you're looking to expand, then you want to get into some other direct marketing techniques. Okay, QR code or link to website with more info. Again, any type of material that you have. I even have them on my business cards. If you haven't seen it, but if you have postcards or flyers, it's helpful, especially nowadays. They can scan their phone and go to a website, and this website can contain a lot more information than any postcard or sales sheet can have. You can actually have them sign up, contact you, etc., etc. So I'm not going to get into the benefits of a website right now, but even this business that's not a online business, that doesn't really sell anything online, you want to have a website to provide information and to get in contact with you. The 4-step sales pitch. People have been looking for this, and the reason why is because this is not, we're talking about the ATM business right now, but this works for many businesses, most businesses. The first step is to ask questions. So let's just imagine with me, you're calling or you're walking into a business. We don't know if they have an ATM yet. You don't see it, but that doesn't mean they don't have one. They might have one coming. It might be in repair, right? So you need to find out their situation. You can do as much pre-research as possible, you know, visit there earlier before, Google them or something like that, but you want to have the information before you can actually pitch. First question is, do you have an ATM? Okay, a lot of times, if it's not visible or if you're calling, that's going to be your first question. If it's obvious that they have one, you can skip that one, you know. If they say they don't, next question, ever thought about getting one? What are they going to say? Yes, no, maybe so. If they say yes, then we can continue, right? If they say no, then we can continue. We can break down the benefits, especially at cash places, barbershops, salons, strip clubs, casinos, etc., that might need cash, right, for their customers. All right. So, ever thought about getting one? If they have one already, are you happy with your current ATM service? Right? These are introductory questions that you want to be able to slide in before your sales pitch, because you need to find out a little information. All right. Do you make money off yours, or are you paying for it? Now, you don't want to get in too much detail about what you can offer yet. You want to see what their situation is. Are they paying for their ATM? Are they making kickbacks, 20, 10, 15, 35% per transaction? Or is someone just offering a free ATM for them, you know, so that they can make more money on the back end with providing their customers with more cash, right? All right. What kind of ATM agreement do you currently have? Now, if they say if they have an ATM and it's not theirs that they own, you can find out what type of agreement do you have. Is it free? Are you free? Are you paying for this? Are you getting any kickbacks? You can slide some of those in as needed, depending on the answer, so you can get an idea of what type of agreement they currently have. You know, as soon as you find out what type of agreement they currently have, if they have one, that's when you make your move. What if I can offer you a better deal? That is, as far as walking into businesses, with or without ATMs, and being in the ATM business, what if I can offer you a better deal? Okay, so anybody that already has an ATM in their business, you can't offer them a better deal unless they're making 50, 60 cents per transaction. You can likely offer a better deal and replace their ATM. Okay, now keep in mind you're cutting into your profit, so you don't want to offer too much too early. That's why we're asking these questions. Also, if you have a limited amount of ATMs, right? You don't want to offer somebody 40 cents Even though you're cutting somebody out, you don't want to offer 40 cents per transaction without going to make sure you can find someone that doesn't need any money per transaction. Okay, especially when your first couple ATMs, you need to be making sure you have the highest profit margin. For those lower profit margin ATMs, it's later on in the journey. Step 1 was to ask questions. Step 2 is to listen and evaluate. Not that you're asking them, but you're asking yourself as you talk to them. Are they taking you seriously when you ask these questions? Is now not a good time? Are you in the middle of a busy night at the bar and you're trying to talk to a manager or something like that, right? Maybe go to where it's a slower time. Are they a little or very interested? You can kind of read that when you start asking these questions. Are they kind of brushing you off? Are they really asking? If they're asking you questions, that means they're interested, right? And so what you want to do is listen and evaluate. Listening and evaluate helps you determine what questions to ask next, right? It also determines how to bring your pitch, all right? Do they seem super satisfied with what they already have? Now you will run into this. They're like, okay, I'm good. I got it set up, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they just went through this whole ordeal last week with someone. And even if you offer a better deal, they don't feel like going through that. You know, it's not worth the 10 cents per transaction that you're gonna offer them better or whatever it may be. Just listen and evaluate. And it'll tell you what to say next. If they seem super happy, guess what? Just leave them your information. Tell them if you change your mind, give them your pitch anyway, right? Step number 3. So who are you talking to? You know, I don't have any problem talking to somebody who works there. Find out how much they know. Maybe it is the owner. If soon as they start to kick back, they say no, then you can double check and ask for the owner. And if the owner's not there or not available, ask for the owner's contact information. When would he be available? That way you can come back and do this all over again. That way maybe you can call and do it from the phone. Now, when you do get a hold of the owner or the decision maker, maybe it's the manager or whoever makes the decisions, you can mention your benefits. Again, respond accordingly based off the answers and their reaction. You can offer a free ATM. You can offer a kickback per transaction. You can tell them that I'm gonna keep it field and operating myself. You know, any type of repairs. If they get too rowdy and break the machine, just give me a call. I can bring you one in, I can replace the one you have, I can bring a new one in 10 days, right? So there's a handful of benefits. You know, there's an ATM sign you can throw in. Now that's an expense that you're gonna have to cover, but you can also put that in your agreement and you can take that sign with you when you leave. So mention your benefits at this point. You've asked your questions, you listened to their answers, and now you're responding accordingly. Schedule a time to chat. If they're not ready to buy right there, and they're kind of brushing you off or it's not a good time, let's schedule a time to talk. I can give you a call, I can come back tomorrow, the next day, next week, whatever it is, I'll put it in my schedule, I'll be there. When that time comes, you're gonna have your full sales pitch ready, because if they agree to that, that's exactly what they want to hear. They want to hear the details of what you provide them and how easy it's gonna be. Leave information. If you don't make the sale there, even if you do, really, you want to leave your business card, you want to leave your flyer and sales page. You know, I say from the card because you don't want to just walk into businesses with papers, okay? It seems a lot more salesy. Go in there, look around, enjoy the establishment for a few minutes, and then say, hey, y'all got an ATM? Or what's your ATM situation? You know I'm an ATM mogul around here. So just bring it on a little bit less salesy, all right? And then when you leave, again, you can leave information, leave your info, you know? If they tell you no, I'm fine with no's. No's turn to yeses in 2 or 3 weeks. So say, hey, well, I'm gonna leave my information with you. I can get you a better deal than what you got going on. I may come and check back on you in a few weeks. That's it. Come back and check on them in a few weeks, okay? So it's a great sales move. That way in a few weeks, it's not a cold call no more. They're expecting to hear from you at this point. Again, if they seem super satisfied already, we're going to leave them the information. We're going to tell them we check back in a few weeks, okay? Now, here's a bonus. Instead of saying sign this contract, I don't care if after they say yes or before they say yes, don't ever mention signed contracts. People are scared of that. All right, in this situation, since it's called a site location agreement, we can just say here, sign here to verify your agreement, right? I wouldn't even say sign. Once we did an agreement, we go over the details, I just say here, right at the bottom, just verify the agreement. That's a little sales tactic and it works. I just want to slide that in there. Okay, so that was the 4-step sales process. And it's very effective in any business that you do. And it's very simple. A lot of times it makes sales too complicated. Sales is about people interacting. And it's not really about your benefits, it's about the interaction, all right? So let's talk negotiation tips. Now these negotiation tips are with the owner of the site because there's a lot of negotiation you can do. You can negotiate with your service providers to get that percentage down. But in this situation, we're talking about the location. And again, find out if they're paying for an ATM. Once you ask these questions, you'll know what to say back. So if they're paying for an ATM, you don't want to offer kickbacks. You just want to offer a free ATM, right? If they're paying a lot for an ATM, you can offer cheaper. You know, if they slide in, hey, man, I'm paying $100 a month for this ATM. Tell you what, I can provide it for you for 20 bucks a month. Again, find out if they're getting kickbacks. And if not, don't offer any. Right up front, you know, if they're not getting kickbacks, see if you can make the sale without offering kickbacks. Say they're paying $100 a month or $50 a month. Again, you can just offer it to be free, right? If they're currently getting kickbacks, if they're currently getting 10, 15 cents because they ran across another independent distributor, then you can offer a little bit more and just see what they say, okay? A lot of times they'll be under contract, but a lot of these contracts you can get out of. And you can explain how they can get out of the contract. You can also say when your contract's up, I'm right here with a better offer. All right, contract details are flexible and come after a yes. So this is a sales tactic as well. Don't go into too much depth of the details before they agree to do it. You know, I have a better offer. I have an ATM machine. I'm a business. That's pretty much all you need to know, right? Before they say, okay, yes, I'll do it. Then once you do it, we'll say, okay, so let's talk about the details because the details are flexible. You know, I'm not going to tell you it's a year before the sale because it might be 6 months. It might be a year and a half. It might be 2 years. It might be a 5-year term, right? So we make that decision later on after we agree on everything. Okay, it's a lot easier for them and you to come up with some of these side terms after the primary things have been agreed on. You don't want to give your whole sales pitch, give your details, yada, 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 and they're not interested. Offer less to inbound leads. Now, this is the same strategy to, let's say, the people that are paying. The people that are inbound leads that are calling you, they're likely not satisfied with their current situation, whether they either have an ATM at all, but offer less to those inbound leads. You don't want to offer a whole lot of kickbacks and et cetera, et cetera. They're coming to you, find out what their pain points are, address the pain points, and get your ATM in their business, okay? And we'll talk about attraction marketing, things you can do to get inbound leads so you don't have to be going door to door if you don't want. You don't have to do the cold calling. You can show that you're an expert and that you're an ATM business and provide your information, and we can do it to where you'll be getting inbound leads. All right, let's talk about social marketing. Notice I didn't say social media marketing because this is a little bit broader of a topic, all right? So the first thing you want to do is ask, where do the small business owners hang out, okay? I'm a small business owner. I deal with a lot of small business owners, and here's some of the primary places they hang out. We like to hang out with other business owners. We like to share our struggles and maybe our solutions, right? So look into Facebook groups and online forums. Right? Look into small meetups, the SBA meetings and the BBBs of the local areas. Show up there, pass out your information, wear your shirt, okay? And then local Google results. That's when we're talking about SEO. That's when we're talking about getting paid ads. That's what we're talking about. People who need ATMs, they're searching Google for ATMs. Different social media marketing or different online marketing works for different things. This is not great for Facebook ads, for example. You don't just pop up, hey, I just so happen to need an ATM in my business. What you want to do is target specific owners. So I'm a Facebook ads expert to some people, and you can target directly to small business owners and show the ads to them specifically. But again, this is a very targeted market, which is great. You don't have to spend a bunch of money shooting it out to everybody to find out who's interested. If they don't have a business, if they don't have a place to put ATM, they're not in your primary market, okay? So just keep that in mind. Local Google results. So SEO and Google ads go a long way, all right? YouTube comments. You might have stumbled on this from one of my YouTube comments because small business owners follow and listen to other small business owners, and they're all in the comments. So we can address them, we can talk about different things, and especially in YouTube comments. So we're gonna have an ATM business toolkit for our student members. Just check your email. It's gonna come in your email, and a lot of this stuff is gonna come directly to you, more details. A list of distributors, banks, and processors, right? We're gonna have checklists, startup checklists, sales scripts, sample contracts, break-even worksheets, and more, because a lot of these go for multiple different types of businesses. SWOT analysis, your customer avatar, your budget, and things of that nature, your marketing plan. All of that goes for multiple businesses. So again, if you're a member, just check your email. You're gonna have stuff coming in your email, just download it, print it off, and run with it. All right, business license and registration. That's another course that you can take to get your business started at ISB University. And again, it's not only free for members, but this particular course is free for anyone. You just go up and sign up because it's the first step, and we need to get your business going instantly, right? So this is the first step, get your license and registration. There's also a business tax class that you want to look into, okay? For more details on this, the ATM business toolkit for our student members is jam-packed, and it will get you started step by step, okay? Once you get things going, we talked about marketing. We talked about how you can target your marketing on all the social channels and things of that nature. So we have courses for each one. They walk you through. They're very technical on how to set up Facebook, IG, TikTok, LinkedIn, Google, YouTube, and some more. Quora, Pinterest. There's a course for each one that'll walk you through finding your targeted audience for your business and getting new clients and customers. All right, what I want to do now is give you a few bonus tips. For one, there's a saturated market myth. We talked about that earlier. A myth that everywhere I go, I see ATMs, and so it's saturated. It's ATMs everywhere, right? And again, we'll talk about that specifically because every ATM you see is actually an opportunity for you to undercut. It's just a sign saying, hey, you don't have to explain to us what ATM business is. We already know we need one. We already have a space for it. We already know about the internet and things of that nature. It's just a shortcut for that sale, okay? So that's what you see. That's what you should see when you see an ATM in a place. And then keep in mind, there's thousands of new cash-only businesses that open daily. Now, you don't have to be a cash-only business to put ATM in there, obviously. Grocery stores, gas stations, convenience stores, but there's also cash businesses that don't even take credit card. And so they definitely need I see barbershops, for instance, that don't take credit card and don't have an ATM. You have to come there with cash. They will make more money with the ATM there. Another bonus tip, handling cash. Mix up your days and times that you come and refill the cash machines, you know, just to be safe. Just like people will go out and watch what time you leave the house every day and when you go on your walks and your routes, you need to be a little bit smarter, be on the front end of that, switch it up. Don't use the same times and days, okay? That way nobody's getting used to you or someone or your runner or your vaulter to come out there and putting thousands of dollars in this ATM machine. You won't want to do it in front of the business owner or at busy times because you don't really want to do it in front of a lot of people. They see the money and they get big-eyed, right? And especially the owner. He's like, hey, I'm not making no money, or I'm only making 10 cents per transaction, and you coming in here and putting thousands of dollars in this machine, okay? You don't want the owner thinking that. You don't want a lot of people, the customers sitting there watching you or anything. So make sure you're at the optimal times, but make sure you switch it up, okay? And then I want to remind you to add transportation and labor into your budgets. And don't forget, you need to get there. It's $6, some places it's $6 a gallon right? Some people don't have the time. What if you have your ATM in a business that closed before you get off of work, right? You have to keep these transportation, the labor in mind, okay? Avoiding scams. So this is another big thing because I haven't been scammed, but I hear about a lot of scam stories in the industry. And maybe that's because I'm in the industry, and every industry has scam stories, right? But there's been times where people try to order a used machine and don't get it, and so it's a hard time to get back. Or they're dealing with a provider that puts them in a 6-year, 5-year contract with these stipulations. Say if you don't work out, you have to pay for the rest of the machine, or et cetera, et cetera. So I want you to follow the tips that we've given you so far and be diligent, all right? So purchase from reliable companies, for one. The major ATM machines, there's only 4 or 5 major ATM machine brands. You also want to get with a reliable company, someone who's done this before, someone who might even can come out and install it for you or fix it, and etc. All right. Another thing, a lot of people start asking for cash. I don't care if it's a site location, the people selling the ATM, don't pay through cash or checks. Okay, because there's no record. They can run off and disappear. Not only can they run off and disappear, but you need this information for your records. You need your information for refunds or to get refunds, things of that nature. So, you need to stop doing that in general, paying cash or check, especially for big items and especially for business related expenses. We want everything to fall under this bank ledger at our business account. Tips for scaling the business. Let's say you get your 1 or your 2. How do you become a ATM machine mogul, right? For one, the cash vultures will help you. That way you don't have to be local. They're likely to front you the money and put the money in the ATM for you. You don't have to go there, you don't have to send them the money. But you have to pay 25 to 50 cents per transaction, okay? Which is fine. If you're looking at a $3 profit, and you want to go completely hands-off for 25 or 50 cents per transaction, that's not a bad idea, okay? If you don't have the time, you don't have the transportation, or you have too many ATMs, or the ATMs are too far out, then you want to look into cash vultures. And a lot of those times, those companies are a larger scale, and they'll handle a lot of different ATMs for you. So that's one key, so that you don't have to go out there and change them yourself. The second one is to outsource finding and pitching the location. So everything I just showed you, you're gonna get the slide deck in your email, and you can actually teach others to make these sales, to keep their eyes open on locations for you, okay? Now you do pay them a little kickback or a little percentage for every person, every new agreement that you have or something like that, but you can outsource and get a VA. And so not only are you completely passive with changing the money in the machines, but you're also completely passive on finding locations and pitching the locations. You just kind of oversee things as a business owner. You can teach our search and pick strategy to others, which again, I'll give you a copy of the sales pitch, of the deck slides, and the information. And then you can offer a reward for new signups, which is kind of a perk for people who are looking and pitching for you. You have to find a way to pay them without paying them a full-time fee or cutting into your profits or anything like that. So think of creative ways to offer rewards or people you may trust or something like that, okay? Multi-location relationship. Now this is good for those who have, let's say you run into an owner who has multiple franchises or multiple locations, things of that nature. Let's make a deal to put a machine in every location, okay? So this is another way of scaling, all right? When you're picking where to put your efforts into promoting and sales pitch, find places that may have more than one location. You know, some of these mom and pop stores, on the convenience stores on the corner, that's all they have. And then others, you might find one where they're a franchisee and they have multiple locations, or they're opening new locations and they need some more ATMs. And from one sale, you can get multiple locations, multiple ATMs put in, all right? Another trick on scaling the business. So you find owners with multiple locations, ATM routes, franchisees, and portfolios. Now, what this is, let's say, for example, you get 10 ATMs at 10 different places, and you have your vultures running at all of them, right? And this don't have to be 10. I've seen this happen with one. Once you have a set route, is what a lot of people call it, because you have a route to go refill all the ATMs. Once you have a set route, you can sell that route as a business. I've seen one machine route being sold for as much as $10,000. And there's routes, there's 300 machine routes, right? There's 300 machines in one route, and they can sell for as much as $1 million because they can also franchise an ATM business. You know, some of these servicers are larger ATM businesses, and all they're doing is, as a franchise, they can sell you one of their franchises. So you can purchase a franchise of ATM business. You can also a collection of routes. Let's say I have 2 routes in 7 states. That's a portfolio of routes. That's a portfolio of ATM machines that I can sell as a whole as well. Okay, and I've seen them run up to $1 million. So these are the different ways. So if you have a little bit more money to play, you can buy an already operating system. If you have built one up yourself, you can sell your already operating system. So this is a way to scale your business. It's also a way to get out, which we'll talk about. But if you follow these steps here and you look at these recommendations, you can scale to several $1 million over multiple states. So future outlook, and we're talking about your out, right? One thing is the world, this is what I hear, the world's going digital. And in 10, 20 years, it won't be any more cash, you know? I personally disagree with that. It's gonna move a lot slower than what a lot of people think. But it is a fact that there's less cash transactions every year, okay? And a lot of people are saying it's gonna be gone in 20 years. How do you become a mogul? People are leaving the industry, which means more for you, right? They hear these top 2 things, that there's less cash every year, it's probably not gonna be no more paper money in 20 years, and they believe that, which is fine, and it may be true. But because of that, they're gone. That's why so many routes and things like that may be available to you, because people are leaving. But to become a mogul, you realize there's more for you, right? You realize you don't follow the trends. Don't fall for that 20-year deal. Don't fall for that no cash or whatever. If you got 20 years to make several millions of dollars, that's when you get in. And when it's time to pivot, it'll be more obvious when it gets closer, if it gets closer, and you can pivot. You'll have the money to pivot, right? So plan to pivot. And I recommend this on most businesses, right? No business is gonna last forever, and even if it does, I always suggest plan to pivot, okay? Just have it in the back of your mind, whatever business you're in. Let's give you an example. Amazon started with books. They pivoted. And books were supposed to be obsolete and irrelevant, right? Once everything went online, there was ebooks, there's email, everything's digital and video. Books are still here. Cash will still be here, okay? And the people that's remaining will be the moguls. You know, there will be a lot less competition because everybody's leaving, and there will be the moguls, okay? So just keep that in mind, all right? Just be aware, and we'll figure it out later. Make your millions and you pivot later. It's easy to pivot when you make a couple $1 million, right? It's a lot easier, all right? So what I want to do now, I think I'm going to stop here and just ask for any questions. If anybody that's watching, if you're live now, I'm going to go through the chat, put your questions in the chat. If you're watching this on a playback, throw it in the comments. We're going to check the comments. Check your emails if you're a member, and I'll talk to you later.